This is the Angels Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Los Angeles Angels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
That's what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah. Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Halo hopefuls, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast, coming at you live, as always, after every single Angels game, and especially after a dub like tonight, right here live on the Locked On Angels YouTube channel, and after the fact, both on the channel and wherever you get the Locked On Angels audio podcast feed. If you don't know who I am, what's going on, everybody? My name is Gavin Carlson. Very excited, Gavin Carlson, former credentialed journalist in the LA area, spent 4 years covering UCLA sports with the Daily Bruin, and now in year 2 with the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Our team is the Angels, and for the second straight night, I'm fired up. I was so fired up after yesterday's Travis d'Arnaud walk-off that I forgot to do my intro to the show. I was that pumped up, and I am very, very excited after what an impressive win tonight. I mean, to win this game 10-5, if you didn't catch it, Angels 10, Diamondbacks 5. It was 6-3 at one point. The Diamondbacks made it interesting with 2 in the top of the 8th to make it 6-5. Could have been a lot worse. And then right when you're thinking it's going to be a nervous 9th inning, the Angels put up a 4 spot in the bottom of the 8th to make it 10-5 and make it an easy win. Before we jump into this one, shout out to everybody in here, all the familiar faces. You know I'm going to shout you out every single time, so I appreciate you guys so much. If you haven't already, like the stream, like it right away. It helps out so much. Comment, you know I'm going to react to them throughout the show. And of course, if you somehow haven't already, hit that subscribe button. But without further ado, let's get right into it with the turning point.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Going to be a quick turning point today. I don't want to go too much into the nitty-gritty of this ball game because there are many things I want to talk about in this game. But of course, like I said, the difference in this ball game is the fact that the Diamondbacks only get 2 in the top of the 8th when it could have been a game-tying 3 runs in the inning or maybe even going ahead in the game. And then, of course, the Angels responding immediately. What's the number one thing we have credited this team for all year? It's their ability to score in the half inning right after they give up runs, right? The Angels do a couple things. You hear me say it every time. They score in the first inning, or they score in the 9th inning, or both. And then they are really good when they give up runs. The very next half inning, they score. And tonight, probably the best example of it, right? The Angels come into the top of the 8th. They take out Reed Detmers, who had a very nice 1-2-3 top of the 7th. Again, I would like to see Reed Detmers be able to pitch 2 innings in a situation like this, where he's a former starting pitcher who, you know, he can throw a bunch of pitches if needed. He has a 1-2-3 7th. There isn't really a reason why he can't pitch in the 8th here, but I get it in the sense that Fermin has been really great. We've been finding this nice little rhythm of having Detmers only pitch 1 inning. So they go to Jose Fermin in the 8th, and unfortunately, it was not a clean inning for him at all. He immediately gives up a ground ball double from Corbin Carroll, then a 1-out walk on Eugenio Suarez, who had an unbelievable night tonight with 2 home runs. Then he walks Josh Naylor. So just that Lourdes Gurriel strikeout, the only out before he is pulled. Interesting time to pull him there. Of course, the bases are juiced. There is 1 out, but you do have a 3-run lead. Some people are thinking maybe you leave him in. Instead, they go righty for a new righty. Sam Bachman comes into the game. Jake McCarthy pinch hits for Randall Grichuk, and originally, you're thinking it's going to be great, right? Bachman strikes out McCarthy. There's 2 outs. James McCann is up, and he hits a weak dribbler down the third base line. You're thinking, okay, surely Bachman got out of this. No runs allowed. You're going to be up 6-3 going in the bottom of the 8th, and it should be a stressless win. But it's the Angels. It's always going to be stressful. And unfortunately, Moncada doesn't do the best job on this one. Probably would have been, you know, it's one of those 50-50 plays where you would like to see your fielder make it, right? And it probably should have been more 55-45 in favor of making the play. Unfortunately, he doesn't make the play. Carroll scores, the bases stay juiced, and then Bachman, he didn't get help from his fielders, but then he did not help his team either with a 5-pitch walk on Alek Thomas. That makes it 6-5, and the bases are juiced for Geraldo Perdomo. Fortunately, Bachman he gives up a really hard ground ball, 104 exit velo. It wasn't a terrible pitch, probably a little bit higher than you would like. But the moral of the story is it was identical to where the first pitch was, and it was crushed right at Nolan Schanuel, though. Fortunately, he knocks it down. He's able to make the play. Fury, you're right. McCann, or you're right. It's always stressful hockey. And I don't know if I've seen you before. If not, welcome to you. But you're right. McCann is super slow. It felt like Moncada rushed the play when he didn't need to, and he gave up a run there. Ends up being a really costly mistake because you give up that run, and then Bachman walks in another. Fortunately, then the luck goes in the Angels' favor when that super hard hit ball from Perdomo is right at Schanuel, and magically, thank goodness, it is right at Schanuel. He's able to make the play, and the Angels take a lead or keep a lead going into the bottom of the eighth. But we all know, after what we just saw that inning, and if we've learned anything about the Angels, if they go into the ninth 6-5, it's going to, it's going to be a stressful one, and maybe one that you don't favor the Angels in, right? But for them to do what they did in the bottom of the eighth inning, you get an immediate leadoff single from Moncada. He instantly makes up for that struggle in the previous inning with a leadoff hit. Then Josh Naylor makes a shockingly bad play in the field, weak ground ball from Soler. Naylor elects to try to go to second to get the lead runner, was never going to get him. It's first and second. Unfortunately, Moncada gets hurt on this play and eventually gets taken out in the top of the ninth. He ends up still running the bases, though, in this inning. And then d'Arnaud with, kind of a lucky base hit, a blooper into left center field, or into right field, that loads the bases. Rengifo strikes out with the bases juiced and nobody out. Frustrating. Another case like Taylor Ward yesterday and really Taylor Ward even in this game and other guys in this game. Runners in scoring position, less than 2 outs and not getting a productive out. It's still infuriating. It happens here, but fortunately it did not matter because we've got studs on this team. Zach Neto with the bases juiced. He gets a weak fly ball. It drops in front of Corbin Carroll. That makes it 7-5. And then Nolan Schanuel rips one into right field. Kind of a weak liner still. That makes it 8-5. But then Mike Trout caps off his unbelievable performance, with a 2 RBI single. That made it 10-5. Yes, of course, Ward lines into a double play. Very unlucky. He absolutely crushed that ball. But at that point, it's 10-5 Angels, and the Angels are able to keep this dub and keep it stressless. And that's the most important thing there. They're able to keep it stressless, and that's exactly what we want to see. Now, before we take the break, we do want to do one more thing here, and I'm not going to waste any more time because I know some people are going to want to see it. Let's get to the player of the game in tonight's ball game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
It's Mike Trout, folks. It's Mike Trout. Where's Vinny in here losing his mind? Mike Trout. The guy, yes, did Nolan Schanuel have 3 hits and a walk? He did. But Mike Trout, another game where he gets on base 3 times, but it also includes a 2 RBI, 2-run shot, 4 RBIs and a walk in this one, 2 for 4, a run, 4 RBIs, a walk. The OPS is 830, right? The OPS is 830. He's officially higher than Adele. He's higher than Moncada. He's higher than Neto. He's got the best OPS on the team. He is back. And I get it. People were critical of him for how he played before the injury. Then people were critical of him for how he played coming back from the injury. But in the last 2-3 weeks, what have I been saying? What have nobody really else other than maybe Vinny been saying? Yes, he's striking out sometimes. Yes, he's not coming through with runners on second base sometimes. But the guy is getting on base via the walk, via the occasional base hit, via the occasional home run. But above all else, he's having great at-bats. He's getting on base. Even if he wasn't getting on base, I would sit there going, hey, the at-bats are encouraging. Let's just see it turn into productivity, right? But today, yesterday, the day before that, the last 2 weeks, it hasn't just been good at-bats. It's been good at-bats resulting in walks or resulting in home runs or the occasional base hit with a runner in scoring position. And tonight we got all 3. We got the trifecta. We got a home run, and it wasn't a Mike Trout solo shot. A runner was on base. That's clutch. Well, then we got the 2 RBI single there in the bottom of the 8th inning to really put this game away. That's clutch. We also still got a walk in this ball game for Mike Trout, which you love to see. The at-bats have been great. He talked about it in the post-game interview on the radio just now. He's seeing his pitches well right now. The at-bats that he and the rest of the team are having are a lot better. And so that's why Mike Trout, he deserves credit. When I've been clamoring for Taylor Ward and a Rengifo and a Tyler Anderson or Kyle Hendricks, right? Veterans like that, to be a Jorge Soler, even a Moncada to some degree, when I've been begging for the veterans to provide the consistency to what is an otherwise young and inconsistent team, who is the veteran above all? I mean, other than Yusei Kikuchi, of course, and d'Arnaud at times, but above those two, outside of those two, and really above those two, who has been the veteran that has been the only level of consistency the last couple of weeks outside of our consistent young studs on a otherwise young and inconsistent team? It's been Mike Trout, right? He's getting on base at least once a game at this point. The OPS continues to rise. The on-base percentage continues to rise. The average continues to rise. And like people keep saying, just imagine when Trout gets that average over 250. Elon in here asking, can Trout get that average to 250 or 260? Absolutely. Why couldn't he at this point, right? Let's quickly go in before we take this break and see what he has done recently. In his last 7 games, he's hitting 280. The on-base percentage is 406, and the slugging is 825 at-bats. He has 7 hits. 4 of them are home runs. So right now it's kind of more of a typical elite slugger stat line from Trout, right? Where it's either base hit, or excuse me, not base hit, where it's either home run, walk, or strikeout, right? That's kind of what we're seeing from Trout right now. 4 of his 7 hits, home runs. He has 6 walks, but he also has 6 strikeouts, right? That's a very slugger stat line, right? Which is kind of what you expect a guy like him to become the older he gets in his career. Typically, guys get a little bit slower. They get a little bit, They get a little bit slower. They get a little bigger. And they tend to try to elect to hit the home run more, right? That's also just what baseball players are doing in general right now, but especially veterans. And Vinny's in here saying, no, he's barely striking out. Yes, I mean, 6 strikeouts in the last 25 at-bats. That's not terrible, right? But the moral of the story is it's walks, it's homers, or it's strikeouts most of the time. In the last 15 games, still a 260 average. The interesting thing, the average is 260, but the on-base percentage is even higher, 424, because like we said, so many walks, 14 walks in his last 15 games, 14 walks in the last 15. That's crazy. In the last 30 games, the average is a little bit lower, 257. The OPS, or the on-base percentage, is even higher, 429. So it's funny. In the last 30 games, average is only 257, but the on-base percentage is 429. The slugging is what's down at 485. But in the last 7 games, it's a flip there. The average, 23 points higher. The OPS, 420 points higher, or 320 points higher, but the on-base percentage a little bit lower. I don't care which Trout we get of those two. Both of those are very productive, right? He has been fantastic, and so shout out to him. He deserves his credit. But with all that being said, we're going to take our break here. When we come back, I want to talk about this game, yesterday's game, one really encouraging thing that we've seen from this team in these last 2 games, and why, despite everything I've said about not getting too high when there are wins like this, why I'm feeling pretty encouraged about things, especially with what could happen tomorrow. We'll talk about that after our break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Now, on this Saturday, today's show is brought to you by Gametime. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to use your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Gametime comes in. Gametime makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. I've used it for concerts. I've used it for games. I've used it for everything. If you're tired of endlessly scrolling trying to find the best deal, Gametime's zone deals pick the best seats in your section, period. It's not going to show you 80 seats per section. It's going to show you the best one, right? If you wonder what your seat will look like, your view will look like, there's a panoramic seat view before you buy, and the Gametime guarantee has your back with cancellation protection and more. So take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Back here live on this victory edition, 2 in a row of the Locked On Angels Postcast. Angels have finally won 2 in a row for the first time in almost 3 weeks. It was June 24th and June 25th. I know maybe it sounds like that's not that long ago, but for a team who's just about 500 and for as up and down we are, to not have 2 wins in a row, that's not asking for a lot, right? So very nice to finally get that. And let's quickly get to the last thing I want to do today before we wrap up today's show.
This is what you'll be talking about.
After that sweep against the Blue Jays, I made a big deal about how I don't care how high the highs are. That sweep, after the sweep against the Blue Jays, I was already feeling like that. It was after those 2 abysmal losses against the Rangers, combined with that sweep against the Blue Jays, that I said, I don't care how high the highs are on this Angels roller coaster. With lows as low as there are, and with how much of a roller coaster it is, I'm not going to fall for these highs anymore and say that this is an above average team. This is an average team at best. Am I ready to change my mind after just 2 games here? No, I am not. But what I will say is we look different. We look like a different team, not only then in those losses, of course, when you win 2 games versus losing by 10 runs and having Kevin Newman pitch, you're going to look like a different team. But we even look like a different team than the team that was going from win to loss to win to loss, relying heavily on coin flips in the 9th inning. There's your coin flip, relying on home runs, and really that being what makes or breaks this team. What I've seen the last 2 nights, look at that strikeout number. Today it was only 2 walks. Yesterday it was 8 walks to 4 strikeouts, but still today, just 6 strikeouts, another 15 hits. I mean, talk about how many hits this team has been having lately. Double digits in the hit column. Like 4 of the last 5 games or something. This team is hitting the ball well. Yesterday, despite the score being what it was, it was a 6-5 win, but it really could have been a 10-5 win, just like we saw tonight. Was tonight's performance that much better than yesterday's? No. They were both elite, right? You win 6-5 yesterday, but you went like 3 for 12 with runners in scoring position. That's the only reason you didn't have the game last night that you had tonight, because you have the 15 hits, but the difference, you go 6 for 12 with runners in scoring position. You didn't need the walk-off hit tonight. You didn't need the home runs because you went 6 for 12 in runners in scoring position. You did have a 2-run shot from Mike Trout, but the difference was the innings where you've got doubles galore, right? Where you've got a 3-run 4th, a 2-run 5th, the run in the 1st inning, where you're scoring in just about every way. Home run, couple doubles in an inning, walk into a run, right? Getting lucky with a fielder's choice in the 4th inning, turning into that into clutch, or in the 8th inning, turning that into clutch swings, right? The Angels did it in all ways. And that's why this is an encouraging win, different from other wins. That's why this win deserves to be highlighted. Yesterday's win deserves to be highlighted. And why, if you do the same thing tomorrow, boy, oh boy, you've now had an extremely successful homestand after all. 5-2 homestand it would be. You'd be 6-6, I believe, in the month of July, and you would be back at 500. That's an average team at best, but that's also an average team at worst going into the All-Star break, and that's exactly what you would love to see. But with all that being said, I am going to wrap this one up. I've been going a little bit too long lately, so I'm supposed to keep this to what it's supposed to be. But shout out to all of you. Let's enjoy the draft. Let's enjoy tomorrow's game. It's a 1 p.m. first pitch, so look forward to see you guys in the afternoon, hopefully after a sweep tomorrow. If Cade is there, I wouldn't mind him. That's what a lot of people are saying. I agree. You got to get a pitcher either way. We'll see what they do. But shout out to all of you. Take care. Have a great rest of your Saturday night. I'll see you tomorrow, and go Angels, baby. Back-to-back wins. Let's celebrate.